Makram learned or taught me that I need to wait for a couple of seconds because YouTube picks it up later on. So, hi everyone, welcome to another Block Chat. I'm Denis, the CEO of Blocksquare, and I'm here with the team tuning in from Austin. I have Viktor, the CTO. I have Cody, our regional hubs manager. Have our CMO Julia and Peter, our chief compliance officer, with me today. And what we're going to discuss is a bit of news that we just released this week. We're going to discuss things happening at the Austin conference at Consensus. So I think it's the first time for all of us to be at Consensus. Yeah, we're going to discuss about things that are to come. First of all, Julia, I'll start with you. You're the only woman in the group. I know you attended a women's event or a couple of women's events.
I did, yes. It was the Break Brunch, and it was organized by Women in Crypto. And it was a really great networking event, and to kick-started Consensus. And it was great to meet a lot of other female, but also male participants. But yeah, it was great.
All right. How do you find Consensus as a first-time visitor?
To be honest, I even thought it would be bigger.
Okay.
Because compared to Token 2049 in Singapore, for example, where I went last year,
okay.
I had the feeling that this was bigger.
Okay.
Than Consensus.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Absolutely. Heard a lot of talk about Consensus, but
and this is the 10th anniversary, so they've been around for some time. Yeah.
But still, very good networking. You're having a lot of fun. So.
Did you? I know today we were kind of distributed around the conference. Some of us were doing meetings all day. Some were able to attend some talks. Peter, did you have any talks that you enjoyed listening to?
Yeah, I did. So I was listening to big guys coming from Citibank, Goldman Sachs, and they are now discussing how putting all the assets on chain. So this is something what I wouldn't expect a few years ago. So this is a hot topic now. Our cooperation between PayPal and Solana was published. So this is also so now crypto companies are really going mainstream. So meaning that there is finally the bridge between fintech, banking, and crypto is established. And I think that we'll hear about many more these kinds of business relationships in the future. So I was a little bit surprised when PayPal was talking about crypto, about that the future is in stablecoins. So this is also something that's a little bit surprising because a few years ago everybody was talking only about Ethereum maybe and different layer 1 protocols. Now everybody is talking about stablecoins, about settlement tokens, about frictionless payment transactions, cross-border, cross-currency transactions, and this is something that really brings together all the regulated financial institutions and renewed crypto companies.
All right, cool. And I know you started MiCA as a regulation in Europe quite a lot. Do you think that it's going to be relevant even in the US, for instance?
Yeah, I was also visiting one panel with lawyers, and I had a feeling that they are a little bit laughing. The US lawyers are a little bit laughing at MiCA, saying, okay, Europeans are once again regulating everything, and they will ask questions later. But I think they are underestimating MiCA. So this MiCA, it will have an extra territorial effect, meaning that it's not only addressing company operating from Europe, but also crypto companies addressing European Union citizens. Mm-hmm. So it will be a global regulation. So I really didn't understand fully why these US lawyers think this is funny.
But I think you also draw kind of parallel regulation with GDPR, which I mean it's a totally different regulation, obviously, but how it's being implemented by U.S. companies, GDPR, you think that there's going to be a similar effect with MiCA?
So Europe, that was 8-10 years ago when it established this regulatory framework for personal data, it's called GDPR. It was the most systemic regulation on a planet. And also everybody thought that Europe did once again what it does best, so to over-regulate everything. But a few years later, now California as a state, it's a very good example. They copy-pasted the GDPR regulation. So Europe being the first one systemically regulating crypto business, but I mean not only different type of crypto assets, also specific businesses such as crypto custody, crypto exchange, crypto advisory services. I think this will be a model for the future regulation also elsewhere. And I think operating from Europe will be an advantage because we'll be operating from the highly regulated environment. And I think the regulation, personally, I think it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because now we have this legal clarity, which was not something that we had in the past.
All right. Going to you, Cody. Yesterday, or the day before, was the first time we met face to face.
Yes.
And I think it was the first time you met the rest of the team, except
Besides
Julia. Yeah. You've been around Blocksquare for some time, and a member of a community, now being an active member of the team. What's your experience like?
I came into you guys' community in 2018, so it's been 6 years, and I got to meet you guys for the first time, which it felt like I was meeting family or friends or somebody I already known. And I've seen, I'm sure some people can relate, they watch the block chats or, they watch us on video and think somebody. And so it felt natural, just like I'd met you before, but even though we never did, and it's just more physical now. So
we had a training in the morning. We were in the gym together.
So Viktor and Cody have been hitting the gym every morning since we're here. How's that?
I mean, he's a beast, I can say.
I gave you a pump, right?
Yeah, he gave me a pump. No, but I have to agree. I think one of the highlights of being here at Consensus is meeting the team, being here with all of you guys. And I wished we would be even in a bigger group, but it's been really nice. All the side events that we've attended, the networking we are doing, I think it is bringing a lot of attention to Blocksquare as well. And I think we're on a good roadmap for the future. And I think as we see that at Consensus, it's all about RWA tokenization. It's really a hot topic, and we are there. We've been doing it for 8 years now, so everyone is surprised. Everyone is giving us praise and respect, I would say, as well, because we're not new to the block, and I feel proud of being here. So,
all right, perfect.
So we are not part of the trend. We created the trend. We co-created the trend.
I agree.
Trendsetters.
Yeah. I think one of the topics that maybe our audience wants to hear about today is there's two things that happened this week, or a couple of them, but two important things. We crossed a certain milestone, which is just a number. It doesn't mean much, but it's 100 million worth of real estate that has been tokenized with Blocksquare's infrastructure. So how do you feel from 8 years back, starting Blocksquare, or just starting, being in this community with an idea, right? How do you feel that, that time and today? What does this mean to you personally? Who wants to go first?
No, I remember a call from Viktor that he's going to start a startup, a blockchain startup with Denis, and that we should have a joint call or something. And then you called me, and the journey began. I was surprised at that time, but I was also happy to be part of it. And so looking back these 8 years, it was quite a journey. With this 100 million milestone, I feel like some kind of the same feelings as having a birthday or something like that. So definitely a little bit proud, not a little bit. Yeah, I am proud. But on the other side, being a lawyer, having all these compliance, regulatory topics in my mind all the time. Yeah, I am happy on one side, but I also see challenges. I think these challenges are not something that we cannot overcome, but we will need to really focus on a compliance. And I'm sure that 1 billion milestone is, let's say, on the horizon.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree. I remember our call as well, and I think we set for a coffee in the morning, us three, and Denis and I pitched the idea to you, and you said, of course, let's do it. And the rest is history. I mean, there have been a lot of ups and downs. I think Denis is leading this team remarkably, and I really need to congratulate you, Denis, on this achievement. It's
Likewise. We're all here.
It's not your.
It's not just me.
It's not a birthday, but
I might.
it feels like it is, and
Yeah.
I know there's a big team behind, but you're steering it in the right direction, and 1 billion, not that far away.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks.
I'll speak from the community side.
Yeah.
I'm from the community. I mean, I came in pretty early on, right after the ICO and the tokens launched. And, I had a vision that, I'm sure some investors or community members can relate. Back then it was more STOs and I just saw the vision of tokenization and blockchain and how it just totally makes sense. And so here I flash back today, and it's like we're there. Like there's some like success to be, but it's like the floodgates have not opened yet. We're right there. Like we're starting to get a drip of the liquidity that's coming, and you can see it. Consensus. It makes sense. Like think about it. Consensus is not as big as we thought it was because we're still not there yet. We don't have all that copy paste scams, just copy and pasting and trying to advertise raise liquidity. But think about all the speeches. Everybody's talking about tokenization, RWA. Everybody's trying to get in there. So you look at all the big banks, the VCs. Almost 80% of the speeches I think are about some form of tokenization or RWA and so forth. So, we're there. So it's like, as a community member, it's like my vision has came true, but we're not, like it hasn't,
Exploded yet.
It's not reality quite yet. It's like, it's the, and I think the 100 million speaks to that. Is just like, that shows you, yes, this model's here. Consensus kind of says it. Everybody's talking about it, but I don't think retail's here yet. I don't think the copy paste, people are here yet. And I think consensus probably next year will probably be 10 times bigger. You'll probably find 50, booths all next to each other talking about, tokenization. We don't quite see that here today. We see a lot of the builders and a lot of the, I actually ran into a booth of a community I haven't even seen in years. And it's like, oh, you guys are still building. All
right. What's your thought? How do you see the milestone?
I see it really step by step further to the goal. I think looking back in 2020 when I joined, or let's say like that, when we tokenized the first properties, the first 10, how hard was it to actually convince real estate owners to tokenize and be the first in the world, or some of the first in the world, to put their real estate on chain? And when we developed this go-to-market strategy with Oceanpoint and the whole staking and the staking of real estate and this whole learning by doing experience for the real estate owners, where we actually, by going through the process, they are not only tokenizing the property, we want to show them how easy it is. They actually learn how to set up their first wallet, how to buy the first Ethereum on the exchange. Then it comes to the tokenization process, where they just have to fill out a form basically and actually have to go and access their real world data about their ownership. And then helping myself, some of these real estate agents doing that, I noticed that the main problem wasn't blockchain or crypto or any of this being complicated. The biggest problem was for them to access actually their real world data of the property. Where do I find my title document? Then they're finding this document, then they see, oh my God, there's actually data on there, which is already like 10 years old or something. Like they still have the wrong address on it, or changed my company name in the meanwhile, and I didn't update that in actually the real estate title. So they, in the process, they noticed that there's actually old data in the real world.
So they learn a lot of things that have nothing to do with real estate, with the blockchain, but just with real estate itself.
They actually updated their real estate information, and that alone is like a big step for them, because imagine that you own a property and in a company name, and you don't even have this company anymore. You know, stuff like this data.
Yeah.
And these were like steps, these small little things we discovered in the process. And that was blockchain. Once you're doing it step by step, then in the end they were actually saying, you know what, it was quite easy. Never thought it would be so easy to tokenize real estate.
And I think this is also very interesting what you're commenting, because a lot of talks that we attended was also about oracles and how they bring this added value, added data into the system, into the ecosystem on chain, and how actually easy it is and it will be to get the real data, real-time data on chain. And this is a perfect example. Once you have, I don't know, an old ledger where the data is 10 years old, and now just in a couple of years we'll be able to have real-time data everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I think we need to take advantage of that. And
those are the things that a lot of people don't, looking into tokenization, they just look at the current status of the technology around it. But in 5-10 years, pricing data is going to be real time. All data from the title or from the, let's say, land registry is going to be much more digitized and much more accessible through APIs, etc. And so all of that is going to be fed into a blockchain system like ours to be updated on a regular basis, and to bring more transparency in the end for people investing in tokens and being able to access real estate as an asset class.
But I also believe that the human input factor should not be forgotten, because if I don't go in there and change it, you know, in the land registry, for example, or in the source, if I don't update my address or my company name that I changed or anything like this, then the whole chain is wrong.
Yeah, it depends really on the national system, how it's done, right? In Australia, that might be, you know, something that the end user needs to take care of. On the other side, for instance, in Slovenia, we have a lot of this data that is updated automatically, and the owner of a company needs to have everything is updated basically live. As soon as you change the company name, that gets registered in the company's house. As soon as you do anything on the property itself, it gets updated as well in either the land registry or the cadastre.
And that will be immediately also.
The only problem is that the data is not currently accessible through an interface where an application could communicate with it, but that's just an additional layer that needs to be built. And I guess that's where the future is going. Everything is going to be accessible through various APIs and then kind of assembled together for use between applications.
But all will merge into one. So you have this data economy, you have these different protocols, and I think what we are witnessing now is the merge of everything. So we'll have data API economy.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I've visited the talk from Solana, I think one of the co-founders and technical officer, I think. And they're now building into the system what we have actually developed ourselves on Ethereum. So I guess we were right in a ways what we needed, right? And now after 5 years, they understand the business needs and they are now building into the layer 1 chain already, right?
Functionalities
so,
that we had to customize for our
some functionalities that you needed to pre-build or build and develop by yourself will now be pre-built for you. So for example, like transactions fees or I don't know, revoking of tokens, whatever.
So things that are important when you tokenize real world assets to make them compliant, because regulators require AML compliance, they require you to be able to revoke tokens or from a specific wallet if need be, and things like that.
And that's also now connecting to oracles. For example, you will have transactional hooks where you can immediately, once the transaction happened, you do maybe some kind of a, I would say, internet query, you get the data from it and then do some other thing. And I think that's a nice way where we can interact with two, I would say, compatible worlds, real world and then on-chain world.
Yeah, it's turning off.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's not plugged in.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's not interrupting the screen or the recording camera. Now, doing this announcement, Julia, you also announced another thing that was just released this week.
That's right.
What is it?
And that's the launch of Oceanpoint version 0.5, which is basically the first real estate tokenization marketplace launchpad.
All right. So for our community, how do you see this impacting our community directly?
Well, our community can now basically help tokenization startups to get started, and they can use what they already own, which is like their governance token, their SBST tokens, and they can allocate them to their favorite marketplace offerings. So if they see a promising startup with, let's say, a great team in a great location, great real estate market, great properties in the pipeline, for example, then they can use their SBST and fund this project. It's like indirect funding, because what it basically does is I can say, I believe in this marketplace operator, I believe in this team, and I lock my tokens in for several times, and these marketplace operators now receive a discount for the technology, which can be up to 100%. So they can start using tokenization technology for free and get started from scratch and start focusing on their real estate tokenization marketplace instead of becoming a technology company and have to deal with all the things they might not even understand. So they can use the help from our community to get basically the foot in the door, get going with the technology, and start then using that, and then use their funds to focus on legals, for example, or on marketing, or all the other operational costs that they have to operate a marketplace.
I think one thing that's important maybe for the community to understand is that the funds that they commit to a specific project, it's not funds that that project can access. They can't use those funds. The only thing that it does, it unlocks them the discount on the technology, on the licensing. And each pool has a goal of 100,000 SBST. And because 100,000 SBST is today 350, 370,000 BST, and in the future that rate might increase even more, and the value of BST might increase or not, we don't know, but the ability to basically get this platinum status becomes harder and harder for these teams to acquire. This is a way to get the whole community of BST holders to actually support projects around without risking their funds. Viktor, you're also on the governance board with me and with 4 other members from the community. So how can you describe a bit how a project can apply for this kind of marketplace pool to be eligible for the launchpad? We have voted on the first project, and we're going to announce it soon, not in this block chat, maybe in the next one. So stay tuned. But just as a information for other teams, maybe looking at this block chat and just wanting to understand what does it take to apply.
Well, I'm in the governance board, and we're meeting once a month.
Yes.
And I really enjoy the opinion of all the governance board members. And what we decided is to actually have a forum. And I think that's great because we are showing that actually we are not the ones who will governance everything, and we will actually give voice to the community, which I believe is great and is showing really the way what Blocksquare as a blockchain as a technology and DeFi as a technology should be. And I think this is where we are actually showing our true potential, because in essence what we wanted to do is to be some kind of a decentralized entity and having this, I would say, functionalities or ability for the community to be able to also decide and to prepare questions to discuss. I think it's a step further for Blocksquare, and I look forward to the discussions that will happen there. And I don't know if it's live or not. I think not yet, but
the forum is being built out. So that was a decision that the governance board had on the last meeting. On that forum, every new project that wants to candidate for launching their own marketplace pool will be able to present themselves and talk to our community and kind of start their journey there. To basically get kind of pre-approved, they need to submit certain information to the governance board, where we help them define the KPIs, we help them define their goals, their time horizon for that pool, and basically then also prepare a bit of a marketing campaign through our channels. I think we're gonna learn from the first. We're gonna take some learnings, and then with the next one, and then with the next one. And now we are estimating of enabling one marketplace pool per month. And that's the current goal. Maybe then we increase it to maybe 2. It really depends on supply and demand for this type of engagement with our community. But I already see from talking with Jure, who's our head of BD and so forth, that there's a lot of new marketplace operators inquiring about our technology, but at the same time feeling that it's quite hard for them to access it. And through the Launchpad, much more of them can be kind of brought to market, hopefully, with the help of the community. So, yeah.
That's a pretty big announcement. So not only did you announce a new pool for our governance token, so I look at it a little bit, just clarify things. You guys are already staking the Blocksquare governance token into the staking pool. And so that staking token that's in your wallet, the SBST, you can now allocate it to certain marketplaces with obviously no risk. They can't utilize that. So now we have another option for us. We can basically lend out a staking token.
Exactly.
Right.
And you get an APY for it.
And we get an APY for it.
So you have an incentive of not being idle and just holding SBST. You have an incentive of getting involved in supporting marketplace operators.
So one, we have a way to lend out a staking token. And 2, we now actually have a voting system, right, for our staking token. So that's pretty 2 big announcements, because I remember people coming into the community and asked about the governance token. Do we get voting rights?
Yeah.
So now we're starting to get some voting rights and some aspect of the token too. So I think that's pretty cool. I just learned about this. I'm not on the governance board, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the core value propositions of Blocksquare is to create a wide network, globally distributed, of marketplace operators. And what we need to do to achieve it is the cost of operating a marketplace needs to be as low as possible. But on the other side, we are also a business and a company, and we need a revenue stream. So by tokenizing that license, which basically the IP of the company, and we are able to then have the community basically put it to work. And that's, I think, the core of the governance utility of BST as a token. And then obviously there's other things that come along with it, where the governance board might decide to take decision on its own, or it might use SBST as a tool to, do a referendum of sorts and have a public vote. I think we're closing in to the 30 minutes mark, and so maybe we're gonna head back to the conference maybe, and side events, and so we have our schedule quite full. But do you want to have like a last statement for our community, or anything you want to share? Any thoughts?
One thing I'd say is, I've been to quite a few crypto events, and we're at a stage now where it's very easy. It's easier to talk to people about tokenization in general, and also tokenization in real estate. So that's the one thing I just wanted to kind of say, is just the amount of people. Obviously, I'm at a crypto convention, so it's very small amount of people still. I still have a hard time, talking to retail about it, so it's still early, but I just like we're in a conference with like-minded people, and it's easy to have conversations about real world assets and real estate tokenization in general. So good to be here. And
all right. Maybe from my side, on a side note, some interesting things from the consensus is, as my opinion, that I like AI, and I've been doing it for many years now. So maybe pay attention to a couple of projects like Cycle, Ava Labs. They're doing great things on chain with AI, so they're trying to distribute data, on chain and use AI. And offer AI on blockchain, and I think that's great because it kind of moves it from this centralized perspective that we are now seeing from big players like Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, etc. So I think personally I really enjoyed that, and I think that it's a good alternative and an approach, and probably we will somehow one day also go into this direction as a Blocksquare. All right.
Yeah, my last words in this blockchain. No, so where I see our advantage, Blocksquare advantage, is when discussing these various topics, blockchain topics, mostly related to tokenization, of course, is that we are not new to the business, so we are seniors here. So we are not somebody, a newcomer, which would be now just watching the market and start selling, developing whatever it's I would say most perspective at this moment. So we are long in this business, and I see that this really has a huge advantage because we have a depth when we are discussing with regulators, with potential partners, with clients. So it feels good. So we are not a startup. So sometimes people ask me, I heard you are in a startup. No, we are not. Blocksquare is not a startup. We are a scale up now. So it's good to be in a scale up, not in a startup.
Definitely. I like it well. I like the situation we're now. I think the team is great. We have good financial situation. We have access. Well, the market is coming to us as well, and I see it from the meetings that our business development team has on a regular basis. There's several intro meetings that they have every day. So that's, I think, very positive, and we're growing as a team. We're growing, and we're doing things that have a bigger impact. So the decisions that I need to take, for instance, on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis, have potentially a much bigger impact than it used to be like 3-4 years ago. I think that also shows in where we are, like you said, a scale up, even though I say we're a startup. Julia.
We actually had only one option to choose from for the Consensus 2024 app, and that was startup. We didn't have anything else actually for
That's
us, right?
True. Yeah.
So people are reaching out because they want to catch up with startups. Sorry, too late.
No, never too late.
I really enjoy how international everything here is. I had the opportunity to meet with some old and new friends and business networks from Australia here in Austin. That's great. We were catching up with one of our with our friend Andy, who did an amazing video about the Blocksquare and his experience with Blocksquare and BST just a couple of days ago. So yes, it's great to connect, and looking forward to the next days to come, and join our Telegram, because we're gonna have some beautiful BST to give away if you manage to find Blocksquare and Consensus.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm sorry Makram was not able to be on this block chat, but to the next time. All right. Cheers. Bye.